everybody, all my fantasy football friends. This is Tony coming at you from the Multiple First Dynasty Football channel. We got a great show for you here today. We are doing a mock draft for the 2022 rookie class in fantasy football. We have landing spots here from Vinny Irey, his mock that he recently did. This came out on 4/22 or 23, came out in the last 24 hours of the video recording. And we're going to take a look at these landing spots, and we are going to do a mock draft. I say we because we have the Velociraptor, Greg, here today. How you feeling today, brother?
Oh, hey, Tony. Man, I am so excited to mock because we're going to be doing these with live bullets in a week. So just on the edge of my seat, waiting for this to all go down.
Yeah, I can't wait for Thursday. I'm getting really excited for it. I'm going to be sitting there watching every pick come off the board. I already know it.
Absolutely. And I got to tell you, I'm going to enjoy this as a dynasty guy so much more now that I'm not sitting there waiting to see if my team gets a quarterback in the first round.
Yeah, your Broncos? Yeah.
My Broncos, your Browns. So we are both free to spend day one only looking at the dynasty implications because we're both out till day two.
Yeah, I'll tell you, in this mock we did, the Browns aren't even involved in any of the skill position players. They take a tight end, Greg Dulcich, in number 78 overall. It's the only Cleveland. Oh, we got a wide receiver later, Wan'Dale Robinson. But yeah, not a lot of Browns action on here. But as you guys can see, I got the mock linked right here. And then if you go down in the comments section, in the description of the video, we have all of the fantasy relevant players listed right there, as well as a link to our draft board, and also a link to the mock that we're drafting off of from, what is it, Sports Nation? Is that where he's from?
The Sporting News.
Sporting News, okay. But yeah, without further ado, we're going to get into it. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think before we even jump in, maybe we could even talk a little bit about why we're doing this exercise like this with a mock draft. And, for me, I listen to plenty of Dynasty podcasts and so forth. And many of them have been doing mock drafts with this rookie class. And if you do a mock draft without landing spots and without draft capital, I think the consensus has been that when you get to about 108 or 109, that the quality just completely falls apart. And I think a lot of that is because this draft has a lot of uncertain players to it, where you might end up liking that player if they get the right capital and the right landing spot. But there's so much variability that they could be a disaster if you took them in a pre-NFL draft, rookie draft, and then they go, one round later than they were supposed to go. You're immediately have stepped on a landmine, right? So using just some random mock draft for landing spots to show how the landing spots improve the quality of this draft class is a lot of the point of this exercise, I think.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, once free agency is behind you, the bulk of free agency has completed, you should be assuming some type of landing spot if you're going to mock the rookies. I mean, the time to do a landing spot list rookie mock was like January, this last month, this last couple week lead into the NFL draft, you need to be assuming landing spots because they're so important. Yeah, and I think once you get landing spots assigned, this class should feel a bit deeper because you'll have players you didn't like land in good spots where all of a sudden you're in on them. And then the players you do like who are in bad spots, you're probably going to still like them because that's the way our minds work. So the draft as a whole, like you said, the cutoff is around 8 or 9. Well, with landing spots baked in, maybe it's 2 or 3 positions longer as far
Absolutely.
as the top tier.
Absolutely, and that'll help you maneuver around your draft board. And then also we can go into some of these decisions where, like, maybe the guy you wanted got bad draft capital, and the guy you didn't like as much got better draft capital, and we can talk through how you work through some of those decisions.
Yeah, we're going to see that here. There are some guys who got some pretty crummy capital that the community is really in love with. Off of Mr. Ivy's mock draft, Treylon Burks, who a lot of people had as the number 1 wide receiver, he is the 6th wide receiver off the board, and he's a second round pick to the Jets at number 35. So what do? If you're someone who had him as the number one receiver, the number one player sometimes, what do you do with that? This guy just fell out of the first round, and now he's playing in the Jets. So, yeah, it's
Absolutely.
a lot going on here.
All right, so I see you've got a draft board pulled up here on Sleeper, and so we'll just go back and forth and take turns making picks until we get to 24 picks, and so that'll be like a 2-round rookie mock. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. We have the settings that we're going to do here is full PPR, 6-point passing touchdowns with a half-point tight end premium. That is the general
Superflex, of course.
Superflex, definitely. This is a Superflex rookie mock, 100%. Do you even play in any single QB leagues?
Well, I play in some 32 team leagues.
Yeah.
Which are obviously that. And I did somebody a favor, so I'm in a 14 team 1 quarterback league where I took an orphan for as a favor to the commish. So that is the extent of my non-Superflex. And then redraft. I play in some my oldest redraft has been going since like 2003. And it is a 10-team non-PPR 1 quarterback league with a kicker and a defense, and the rules haven't changed.
Love it.
It's got the same people. It's a lot of fun. So I do some of that, but no, in Dynasty, it's just the 2 32-team leagues I have, and then the 1 orphan I took over. What about yourself?
Yeah, I got my hometown redrafts have all moved to Superflex. Basically because I told them to. I only play in a couple. Dynasty is my life as far as fantasy. It's I'll play in one single QB redraft league, like one with my super casual friends or like my work buddies. But it's really challenging to like work your brain into single QB mode and also into redraft mode from Dynasty. I have trouble, changing your frame of reference like that.
Yep, at times. Yep.
All right, yeah. So me and Greg did an off-air coin flip, and I ended up with the number 1 pick. So I am going to make that selection right now. My 101 is Kenneth Walker, who landed in Buffalo as the number 57 overall player. So in our mock, Breece, he landed in Arizona as the 55th pick, so 2 picks ahead of Walker. Me personally, with my concerns for Kyler Murray, it's hard for me to really see success for Breece there off the rip versus Walker, who's a talent that I just love, who is on an elite offense. And, I think he'll just dominate the backfield. There's really no one of consequence as far as I'm concerned in Buffalo. Like, Singletary had some good games. We also saw the coaching staff completely fade him. So they're not in love with the guy. And, I would happily take Kenneth Walker at the 101 with the landing spots that we're looking at here.
Yeah, so I assume Breece Hall was ahead of Kenneth Walker in a vacuum before you looked at the mock draft, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. This is like a nuclear landing spot for Hall for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And in fact, we did a whole running back show last week. Everybody check it out. It's on the channel. And so we both agreed they were on the same tier, but Hall was better. So now the landing spot of Walker at 57 is better for you than Arizona at 55 by enough to swap the two. And I got to tell you, I agree. I would have had Walker ahead of Hall here too.
Nice.
I would have had Walker ahead of Hall here too. For me, I don't think Arizona's a terrible landing spot. I think that, just to refresh for the listeners, you specifically, Tony, are particularly bearish on the Cardinals and the Murray situation. You were one of the first people to just say, I'm out.
Yeah, hey, if it happens, you heard it here first. That's all I got to say out there.
No, listen. Sometimes you got to call your shot, right? Like I was the most out most quickly on Calvin Ridley, and that paid off for me. And I was like, and if he comes back on other people's rosters, I can live with that. Right. And so if you're like, and if they extend Kyler on, and I miss on Breece because of it, I can live with that. I can live with Kenneth Walker anyway. Right. So I love that.
Yeah, and just from a philosophy standpoint, like I hate being so rock solid on something. Honestly, I'm not a guy who takes all of these strong stances across the league. There's like 3 or 4 points in the whole league where I really feel like I take a strong, hard stance, and this is one of them for me that I'm not backing down from. I really want to stay water. I want to be very, very flexible and open-minded, but until Kyler gets a new contract, I'm going to assume he is not playing for the Cardinals. So that's just my opinion.
I think that's a little bit of a short-term look. I think.
Yeah.
We haven't even mentioned though James Conner, right? So one of the things, like if they're bad and he splits work with James Conner, then you could have value retention issues with Breece Hall, right? Where he falls apart a little bit.
There's even a case made that McCoy as a starter bumps his volume up because he's going to have that Phillip Rivers effect where the guy can't move, so he'd be dumping it to the Hall a lot. There's a case to be made that it's almost good for Hall if Kyler weren't there. So
yeah.
Maybe not that good of a case, but there's some right. Copium there.
And again, the Connor thing, like it is not great for Breece Hall to go to a place where he's not the obvious dominator from day one, whereas Kenneth Walker is going to that place where he is the obvious dominator from day one. I think Singletary is done there with if Walker goes there, and then honestly, Duke Johnson. If it turns out that Walker has some long yardage package issues as a receiving guy early, like Duke Johnson's a perfect guy to just play all the 3rd and 12s if they need him. So like I love that landing spot for the Bills, for Walker, for Josh Allen. Honestly, I agree with all of that. Okay, so I, with the second pick, am also passing Breece Hall.
Oh boy.
Who also probably would have been my 101. I'm going to take Malik Willis, who actually would be my 101 in this mock.
Mm-hmm.
I would have taken him first, because for me, it's not just that you've been talking a lot about landing spot. I do not like seeing Hall and Walker go 55 and 57 in terms of draft capital. That's a bit scary for me. I do love Malik Willis landing 8th to Atlanta. I love the fact that Atlanta seems like a place where he's not going to take too long to get on the field. He's not going to be behind a guy who's going to get them in playoff contention and keep him off the field all year, the way Trey Lance was off the field all year, right? He's going to get on the field week 7 or week 8 when they're 2-7, or when they're 2-6.
Yep.
And as soon as Malik Willis steps on the field, he's going to be good at fantasy football.
Oh yes, yeah.
He's not going to be good at football, but the way 1.5 reads and then take off is going to translate for fantasy. I don't know if he's going to be a good quarterback in this league, but for as long as he's the quarterback, he's going to be good at fantasy football.
And there has to be some juice there for whatever offense they put in for Mariota. Like Willis would be able to run that. You're not going to have these conflicting styles between the two of them. They're both very, very, mobile, fast QBs. So any type of read option type offense you have in place is just very easy transition from Mariota to Willis. So
Mariota's a high character guy.
Yeah,
I think that's another. I really like this Atlanta landing spot. I like it a lot more than Malik Willis to Carolina. And the coaching staff is trying to keep their jobs. I feel like Atlanta is going to be like, all right, this is a throw it in the trash season. And we'll, and we're looking at 2023, and they'll take some time. They'll develop him. I also actually like the fact that later on in this draft, they added, in this mock draft, they spent their 2nd and 3rd round picks on wide receivers.
Yes, they did. Yep.
This is a spot where I feel very safe about the fact that he's going to come out there late in the season. He's going to play, draw it in the dirt football. He's going to put up a bunch of rushing yards. He might help you win games this year. Like in the playoffs. Like he might be that shot in the arm
Yeah.
Remember we saw Lamar Jackson be that a
Yep.
few years back?
His rookie season. Yes, we did.
And he's going to hold value really nicely through the offseason. And if you get really sketchy vibes from him, like he's going to put up enough fantasy points that if you watch him and subjectively you're like, ooh, he's going to lose his job in 2 years, you can trade him for a 23 first.
Yeah, you'll be able to move him in that 22 to 23 offseason area. You'll be able to, because he'll be a locked-in starter. I mean, if they take him at 8, he'll be their locked-in 2023 opening day starter, and that has good value. I mean, regardless of how you feel about his play, that has good value, especially with his rushing.
Yeah, and he's a high character guy. Mm-hmm. I hear he works hard. I like this pick. I feel very comfortable with it.
Yeah.
You're up at the 103.
I'm up at the 103. So I had Willis at 2 also. Wrestled with that. It was Willis or Walker 1 or 2. It was just real close. Based on my team need, if I needed a quarterback, I'd be willing to take Willis over Walker too. It's so tight. But at 3, I'm taking Kenny Pickett. And Breece Hall's going to continue to slide on our board. Top 6 pick. He goes to Carolina in our mock. I have to assume he's just going to start over Sam Darnold week 1. And like we said about how Willis isn't going to start initially, most likely, even given this capital. If the Panthers take Pickett at number 6, he's their day 1 starter. He's going to outplay Darnold. They're going to throw him right in there and give him the chance to run their offense. I would be looking to flip Pickett at some point after a good game or 2. He's not a prospect I'm in love with, but I cannot ignore the draft capital. I would not ignore it. And it's I can't tell you anything about Pickett you haven't heard already. But if he goes in the top 6, like he is here as the first quarterback off the board, I'm willing to take him ahead of any skill position player not named Kenneth Walker in this environment.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not there here with Pickett. This is early for me for Pickett.
Sure.
I do think that like the ceiling here is Mac Jones, which is like if you get that, and if you get that. That's okay at best at the 3. So I'm waiting on Pickett from here. But I get it. I get the draft capital. I get how safe he is and all of that. You do wonder about the process in Carolina. I really do think he's going to go 6.
Yeah, I do. I do too. I do.
I believe all the narrative street stuff with, the owner being a Pitt grad and just being in love with Pickett and, Matt Rule recruited him, all that other stuff. I really do.
I'll be looking to flip him along the way from this spot. Like I said, I would take him at 3. He probably doesn't last on my team to the end of the season. I mean, and maybe that's the wrong way to Dynasty, and maybe you're drafting someone with the intention of trading is not smart.
No,
sure,
but I don't think that's wrong. But like, I think B. Water with that too, right? Like he might be like you might get less for him. You might get less performance out of him and less trade value at him, trading him after 2 weeks than trading him next offseason.
And if Hall were on the board at 103 here too, I'd probably just be able to move the pick, to someone who wanted Breece Hall.
That's 3. Probably what you're going to do.
That's probably the more realistic situation.
And at number 4, I'm going to take Breece Hall.
Yes, sir.
All right. So for me, I am perfectly comfortable. I know you're just fading Arizona. But like for me, he's going to beat out James Conner. This is a disaster for your James Conner owners. And by the way, like yes, disaster for your James Conner shares. Disaster for your Devin Singletary shares. If you spent a third to go get Marcus Mariota, thinking you had your QB3, that's So, like, I just wanted everybody to notice that in Dynasty, the NFL draft is actually a day where mostly value is being destroyed, not created.
Like right now, there's a lot more tears than there are smiles on draft day from the fantasy community.
Right now, we've got 32 starters plus all the draft picks, right? Like
yes,
right, and then that goes that people just get ravaged through this process. But yeah, if you're a James Conner owner, I just think you're in trouble here, and Breece Hall is going to take this job. I think, to me, I know this felt like a unrealistic to you, I think you said maybe.
There's some awkward landing spots. Yeah, I don't know. Hall makes more sense to Arizona than Walker does.
I see. I think to me, just taking the best skill position player available and ignoring the trenches is like very on brand
For
for Cliff
Arizona.
King.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. So I could totally see this, and I just think this would. I actually think Hall would be fine in year one, and he'd be great by year 2 or 3 when they eventually get the Murray thing worked out, and get rid of Connor, right?
Yep.
And I think this is going to be a very nice landing spot. I would have had him 3, but again, like what your decision on Pickett and me sort of settling for Hall, I think is indicative of the fact that this is a challenging class, but not without lots of opportunity.
Yes, sir.
You're up at 5.
All right, I'm loving this. I'll make the first wide receiver selection here at 5. In our mock, the Kansas City Chiefs get Drake London at number 29. And this is a guy who is the number 1 receiver on a lot of very smart people's draft boards. And can't ignore that landing spot. A lot of the other elite receiver prospects just really ugly landing spots. And this is a marriage of an elite prospect with an elite quarterback. I love London here. I would happily take Drake London with all my 105s and pretty much ignore any trade offers for it if this happened. We're seeing the Chiefs get a lot bigger on offense. They brought in Juju, who's a big body guy. They kept Kelsey around. He's huge. I think we're seeing the Chiefs want to play a little more dink and dunk football, and London is just a big monster who can break tackles. London can do everything that Patrick Mahomes wants a receiver to do, and yeah, I would be very happy to take him here in the spot.
All right. That's all right. So I think that's a great pick. And it's very interesting, right? Because I'm going to take here at number 6. I'm going to take Garrett Wilson.
Yes, sir.
Who went 11th to Washington, and in fact, on my board, after the results of this mock, or after the result, of Vinny Irey's mock, I had Willis, Walker, Hall, and then Wilson 4 as the wide receiver 1, and London 5.
Yep.
So I have no issues with London at 5, and the Kansas City landing spot is great. But I think you and I have a slight difference in terms of how we look at the draft, and how much we weight landing spot and how much we weight draft capital, right? So for me, you look at London going 29 to Kansas City and you're very excited. I look at London falling to 29 and I'm slightly concerned.
Yeah, because there's 5 receivers that go ahead of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are all of these scouts? Okay, because there's some things about London that concern me, right? He doesn't we've seen it, right? Like the 5 receivers, I believe it is, who have had the highest proportion of their catches be contested catches in the last 5 years are N'Keal Harry, Jalen Reagor, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, Drake London, and Denzel Mims. I believe that's the group.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So that's the scary, right? London is a better prospect than those other guys, right? But I mean, those other guys, several of them went in the first round, right? So they weren't nothing prospects either. And yet we saw how badly that went. So if I see Drake London go like 7 to the Giants, I'm going to be like, yeah, I'm in. And that's going to make me feel much more comfortable than seeing him slide to 29, even if he gets attached to a good quarterback. So I would rather have Garrett Wilson here at 11. I think the worst you're going to get from Garrett Wilson is he's going to be a good wide receiver 2. And maybe the ceiling is a little capped, but at any position here in this entire draft class, for me, Garrett Wilson's the cleanest prospect.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, having London over him, like, it has nothing to do with Carson Wentz. I think Carson Wentz is a fine quarterback. It's like I'm not fading Wilson because of that. If anything, it's the logo. I mean, there's so much like animosity around the Commanders. I lean out of their players. I loved Terry McLaurin last year. Gibson's a very, very talented player. I don't have either of those guys in any of my startups from this past season, just because, you know, I want organizations that are run more smoothly and just have, you know, just safety all around them, and I don't see that with the Commanders players, just like I don't see that with the Cardinals players, like I mentioned earlier. And I think that's a really good segue into who I take at the 1.7 here. I take Desmond Ridder, who went number 20 overall to Pittsburgh. In my opinion, the Pittsburgh Steelers are the most well-run NFL franchise, and they're one of the best run professional sports clubs on the planet Earth. And have been for at least my lifetime. I'm 32, but if Mike Tomlin and the Steelers brass sign off on a first-round quarterback, they don't trade up to get him. They sit tight and they take Desmond Ridder at 20, a guy with some good rushing upside. Then I'm in. I'm in on that at the 1.7. I like it more than the other dubious receiver landing spots that are available. And like I said, I'd be looking to move off of Pickett in his first year. With someone like Ridder, I would be holding, and I would want to see what we can get out of Ridder. I mean, yeah, not a lot of people liked him in the original draft process, but I'm definitely willing to say the Steelers know a lot more about I do. A lot more than I do about football. So if they think they can turn Ridder into the next Roethlisberger, then I'm all in on that.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, Desmond Ridder. And I think this now is part of the key to the whole thing, right? So I looking at this board, if I were sitting on the clock 8, 9, 10 here, I'd be feeling great because you were a little bit higher on these quarterbacks, quarterbacks than me. And so I'm going to get guys here who, if we had been doing this before landing spots, some of the next few guys would be gone, right?
Yes, sir.
But on the other hand, if you had passed on those guys, I would now. This is about starting to be the area where I'd feel real comfortable with Pickett and Ridder, is this 8-9 area, right? So if all of the wide receivers had run, then I'm fine taking the quarterbacks now. The quarterbacks went earlier. I'm fine taking the receivers that are falling. So 8, 9, 10, I'm feeling really good here. Even on a little later than that. I think Ridder is a very safe play at number 7. I don't see the ceiling there, but like with Pickett, I think you're maybe buying a very solid quarterback too, who will be around for a long time, who's a very safe play, who will hold value. It's a super flex league. That's all to the good. It's a low ceiling play for me at 7, but very safe.
And we talk about like how quarterbacks, their hit rate has to be they have to be in the top 15 to really hit, right? I mean, that's something they mentioned. Well, I mean, I'd be willing to say that the Steelers are an outlier against that with their organizational stability. I mean, even their crap offensive line, but like Tomlin being a Hall of Fame caliber head coach, I'm willing to say he can, fight that trend with the quarterback he selects. I'd be willing to bet my money on that. But it's close. This whole thing is very, very tight. Yeah.
Yep.
Who you got at 8?
I am taking Jahan Dotson.
Yes, sir.
And that is me adjusting to draft capital and landing spot here.
I didn't know what to do with him here. He was really hard to figure out.
When he goes 22 to the Green Bay Packers, which is a really good opportunity. He is a very polished receiver. I'm just really comfortable with him at that. That's a good draft capital, right? He's not at the very trail part of the round. He's in the third quarter of the round. He's the 4th wide receiver off the board, ahead of 2 of sort of the consensus top 5 guys. And just such a plus landing spot. There are some other receivers who I have ahead of him in a vacuum, but not only did he get a great landing spot, I did not like some of the other landing spots. Like one of them I dislike pretty intensely. And so I'm going to Jahan Dotson here at 22. I think he's super safe. He reminds me a lot of what I said about Garrett Wilson. This is a guy who runs good routes. He has the best hands in the class. He's a clean prospect. I don't know that he's a superstar. He's small. But I feel like I'm going to get it. Like him busting he's a wide receiver 3.
Yeah, well, Green Bay doesn't take another receiver in this mock. So there's no one else that's going to mess with him. I mean, Sammy Watkins or Jahan Dotson, who's going to be the number one receiver for this team.
No. Alan Lazard.
You think Lazard? Yeah, maybe.
I think Lazard has as much chance as Watkins. How about that? And let me also say, by the way, this is a 3-round mock that we're working off of, right? So we don't know who the teams took in rounds 4 or 5 or 6, right?
Green Bay's probably going to add a tight end, I think, at some point this year.
Yeah. In fact, I believe they added a tight end in the 3rd round here.
Oh, did they? Okay, I might have missed that then.
Yeah, I believe they did.
Yeah.
Charlie Kolar?
They did,
right?
yeah. Yep.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm very happy with Jahan Dotson. Honestly, he's my wide receiver 7, 8 right now in a vacuum, but I'm happy. But with this draft capital and landing spot, I'm happy to take him here at 8th overall as the wide receiver 3 in this class.
That's interesting, man. Just to looking back a month ago, to say we'd have Dotson as the number 3 receiver off the board as a top 10 pick, that would have been crazy a month ago. But that's why landing spots matter so much,
Yes, and that's part of what we were wanting to see, right? And like I still stand by that. Like this doesn't change the fact that he is my 7th or 8th wide receiver in a vacuum, right? Like if they all got neutral landing spots and the same draft capital, right? That's how I would, But that's not what happened here, right? He went to a great landing spot with the 4th best draft capital, so
All right, at 109, I struggled. I'm not gonna lie. Like I said, this got really tight. The options available here, we have Jameson Williams, who went 15 to Philadelphia. We have Chris Olave, who went 13 to Houston. We have Matt Corral, who went 34th to Detroit. We have Houston starting tailback. We have an Isaiah Spiller, who's gone in this area previously. So for me, I have Chris Olave here, number 13 to Houston. So this is the 2nd wide receiver off the board from the NFL draft perspective, and I really like just the upside in terms of volume that he presents as the slot receiver. What I assume is the slot receiver for the Texans. Mills isn't this mobile guy. He's going to just stand there and deliver the ball, and I think Olave's going to catch it a whole bunch. I love his talent. I love his pro readiness. I love the top 13 capital he's getting here. And to think of getting Chris Olave at this point as the number 9, who probably quickly develops into the number 1 receiver for the Texans. I mean, maybe they move Cooks before the start of the season. Who knows? I think this represents a lot of value. I'd be very happy to get Chris Olave here.
Yeah, I think Chris Olave is a very safe play here. And I think he represents tremendous value at this point in the draft.
Tough though. Tough calls, man. Really close.
I don't love Houston as a receiver spot. I actually think, if they don't move Cooks, there's not going to be enough offense there to support him having a real great season. Yeah. So you might have to be patient with him. Like he might decline in value year over year a little bit.
Yep.
And you have to just sit on him another year instead of being able to flip out into 2023 capital if you so desire or anything like that. But I do think he's a very safe long-term player, and he has great draft capital here, and Houston will probably take a quarterback next year. And,
that was part of it too for me. Like I figured even if they get off of Mills, like the quarterbacks coming out next year are good, so it'll be a seamless transition into a quarterback upgrade for Olave. Potentially upgrade. Maybe a little slower process, but Olave should have a quality pass thrower of passes he's working with for the duration of his career, and he should be able to make some noise.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, your worst case scenario is that Davis Mills is just good enough to make it so they can't get one.
Right.
But no better than that.
Are we doing a 10?
At 10, I'm going to clean out the NFL draft's first round and take Jameson Williams.
Yes, sir.
Jameson Williams. So the one of all of the landing spots, and this is another thing I have learned from doing this exercise, right? Of all of the landing spots that are likely to take a wide receiver, Philly is the one that scares me.
Mm-hmm. Very scary. Yeah, I would not have done this a month ago. I definitely have Jameson from a talent perspective ahead of Olave, but I think this volume is what pushed it for me. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I do not have confidence that Jameson Williams is going to be the wide receiver 1 there, even when he gets all the way back healthy. He's going to be by the time he's healthy, he'll be a season and a half behind Devonta Smith, who I think was a nose better than him as a prospect to begin with. On an offense that likes to throw to the tight end, doesn't have a great passing quarterback, wants to run the football a lot, and might have some quarterback turmoil coming, right? And also, I think he's not a good fit for Philadelphia in the sense that, they're going to have two very fast, very wispy wide receivers.
Yeah,
here.
so similar. Yep.
Dallas
Goedert's the only big guy.
Strange pick for me. I don't love it, but the talent here for me to get Jameson Williams at this spot is undeniable and unavoidable. So, if I'm sitting at the 110 and I can get Jameson Williams with excellent draft capital, right, then I'm going to do it.
Well, here's a question for you, a philosophy question. So you're sitting there at 110, you're looking at Jameson in Philly, it's coming off his torn ACL. If I'm one of the more decent teams in the league, a playoff team from last year, and I say, hey, Philo, I will give you my 23 first for this 110 right here. What are you doing? Straight up,
out.
1 for 1.
Out.
You're taking JMO.
No, I'm out. I'll take the 20.
Oh, you take the pick. You're out of the spot. Yep.
I want the. Yeah, give me the pick. Give me the pick.
Even like I said, I'm a better team. I'm someone who's okay looking.
I don't care. No.
Yep.
I will take random 23 first for anything after, 4 here.
Yeah.
Maybe 6. Maybe 6. I feel like 5 or 6 here. Yes. No. 100%. Give me the random next year first.
All right. Yeah.
I mean, first of all, Jameson Williams. Again, the injury. I don't know what you're going to get out of him year one, and I don't really expect the Eagles to be successful because they throw the ball a lot year one anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And even setting all of that aside, if the premise here is I want to contend this year, I had the 110 and I want to contend this year.
Yeah.
I'll just take that next year first, and I can flip it at the deadline for a player who's maybe a year or two older than Jameson, from Elijah Moore.
Yeah.
Who
whatever running back's popping off or something. Yeah.
Who's going to help me all year, and is also still very, very young. Mm-hmm. Right? I'd rather go that direction. Yes. So for sure, I'm taking that 2023 first over Jameson Williams. Yeah.
All right. Should I go ahead with 11?
Do it.
All right, number 11, I'm going to take the fourth quarterback here. We saw Matt Corral go to Detroit at number 34. Very scary for me. I don't know how I'd feel about this, but I like Corral's talent. I really do. And I'm not someone who loves Jared Goff, and I love the collection of talent in Detroit that they're working with. Give me Corral at 11. This is we've seen quarterbacks in this range, this back end of the first, rookie area, back end of the first of rookie drafts. They're flippable. If Corral gets a shot this season, I can flip him next year. And even if not, the clock's always ticking on Jared Goff. If they make this selection of Corral, then they no longer view Goff as their long-term starter. I don't think they do anyway. So, just like the philosophy I've taken with Pickett at 3,
this is a second-round pick. This is the 202.
Yep. He's the 34th overall player. Yep. And there's just no other elite talents that I'm in love with. I mean, Treylon Burks is still on the board, and would be in play in this area. But I want this quarterback who I think is going to start, and who's I believe in his talent to a degree.
Very good. He's closer to 206 for me.
Sure, that's fair. Yeah,
I think my thought here is Detroit's going to be terrible, and they're going to take quarterback next year. He's got how many starts is he going to get between when he takes the job from Jared Goff and the end of the season? Those are all the starts he will ever make for Detroit. That is my feeling. Before they those are all the starts he has.
He could get Rosen. Yeah, is that what you think?
Those are all. Well, it's not getting Rosen. He's a second-round pick.
I guess you're right. That is my point.
To me, the fact that a second-round pick is 0% committing not to take a first-rounder next year.
That's I mean that's a fair stance. Yeah, maybe I'm too high on him. All that stuff I was saying about Pittsburgh, Detroit does not present that same stability. So
Mm-mm.
yeah, it would have to be a talent play, a call your shot type play to take Corral in this area. But
No, well, you have to evaluate it yourself. Like, I think
yeah,
there's a decent chance he takes it from Jared Goff, but like for me, let's say the Titans had taken Corral at 26.
hmm
That to me is them saying, okay, Tannehill's going to be is on a short lease, then he's going to go, and then Corral's going to be the starter. But like those 8 picks later down here at 34 for a bad team like Detroit, to me this is like we'll throw a dart here, and if we go 3-13, we're still going to take CJ Stroud next year. I don't like, and they're going to go 3-13, right? Like
yeah,
that is to me is the problem. Is like this Detroit is definitely going to be picking very high next year.
yeah.
And so that scares me with Corral. But like I don't mind taking the high second round quarterbacks. I just am scared when I can't see a path for the team to not be high up again next year.
Yeah, maybe I overvalue the position. I don't know. It's
I don't mind
it's
I don't think it's the positional value. I think it's like the second roundiness of this that
yeah.
scares me.
It's just the capital's not there to warrant it. That's fair.
That's yeah. We're beyond my comfort on draft capital.
Yeah, this is the first year I've ever even followed these prospects leading into the draft, so maybe I need to tune the amount I let capital play uh, on my pre-draft rankings because I definitely have Corral lower. It's just I don't know. Detroit seems like a sweet spot for him. It's like a spot where he could start. He's gonna get an opportunity. I want that. I want that opportunity to flip him.
He will get an opportunity.
Yeah.
I just like like he better help them win 8 games, or 7 games, or
For his own sake, as a starter.
right,
Yeah.
or that's it, Then he's gone, right?
It's
That's my
questionable
way.
because they took him at 34, right? But their original pick, they have a late first round pick. So in reality, if they viewed Corral their long term starter, they would take him with whatever was their late first. I think they ended up
That,
taking a defensive player because they would want
yeah,
they would want that 5th year option on him if they believe.
yes,
You know,
This is
so
like
I
all
didn't
right. We'll
consider
throw a
that till
dart.
now. So maybe he should be a little
Yeah.
lower. Yeah.
All right, so I'm closing out the round. I'm just gonna go ahead and take the wide receiver 6 here, who is not my favorite wide receiver, and he didn't get the draft capital he was supposed to get, but he's an athletic freak, and at 112, I'm gonna take Treylon Burks.
Yes, sir.
And I know some people have him as the 101 in 1 QB leagues or 1 QB drafts, right? Like some people are just in love with him. You see him mocked very up as high as the late teens, mostly in the 20s. Oh, somebody's racing outside.
From Rome.
Yeah. But here he goes 35. So that's the 3rd pick of round 2 to the Jets, which is, I think, 35 might actually be the exact same pick Elijah Moore went with. I'm not 100%
He
sure.
went right around there, yeah.
But it was 30 something in the second round. And we've seen a lot of success from that spot. T. Higgins was in that spot. Deebo Samuel was in that spot. Michael Pittman was in that spot. That 30 something in the second round goes to a bad team that addressed some other higher need in round 1 and took a productive player in round 2 at the wide receiver position. So I'm perfectly happy to roll the dice here. I still have my extreme concerns about Treylon Burks. He didn't beat a cornerback on a route that wasn't a go route. Everything is screens and design touches. But let the Jets do some of that. They've got that San Francisco coaching staff over there with the Jets. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to bet on upside here, and I feel like I'm getting like closer to the same tier value as the 108 than the 203 here. So I feel pretty good about getting onto that tier with Burks.
Yeah, where's Burks on your overall? Like, you have him a little higher than 12, I'm assuming, because I probably pushed some of your players down with the quarterback selections.
On my overall here, I have him. Well, no. So you were a little higher on the two quarterbacks, but I had him behind them anyway.
Okay, so not that
Like
much of a
so
difference.
you were higher than me on both Pickett and Ritter, but I was higher. But I had them both ahead of Burks anyway.
Yep.
So I had Burks 11. So just really Corral.
Yeah. All right, 201. I'm sitting here, and I like Christian Watson. Went number 43 to Atlanta.
Correct.
There's plenty of good selections to be made in this area of the draft still, for sure. Atlanta takes a second receiver in this draft. They take Calvin Austin at 82, so it's a third-round pick. You know, with the risk that Watson presents, there's a chance Austin is ultimately the better receiver for this team. There's also a case to be made that the overall volume of the offense is lower because, like we mentioned, Willis is the starting quarterback. But I really like Christian Watson a lot. I just enjoy watching him play. I enjoyed his college tape. And 201 isn't this absurd investment. I'd be down to take him here and see what he has to offer. I think he's going to see a lot of single coverage. I think Kyle Pitts is the guy who's demanding double teams on this offense. And if Watson becomes what he can become, he's going to one day be better than the wide receiver 6, wide receiver 7 in this class. He would jump some guys ahead of him, I think.
He's a special athletic talent.
Yeah.
We'll see if he hits that ceiling. Has a lot of the same competition level of competition concerns that we saw with Trey Lance, who has been slow out of the gate. But Atlanta is a place where they'll let him get his growing pains too, right? Like one of the things about Trey Lance is that they didn't the team he was on wasn't terrible, so they weren't willing to just let him be terrible on the field and learn. Which is what you want with fantasy, right? It's like you want him to be on the field being bad, but at least usable and improving.
Yeah, that's what pushes him up to the 201 for me, Watson. Like his talent profile relative to the opportunity he would get in Atlanta. Give me it. I want that. I want that combination.
Yeah. Exactly. So I like that quite a bit. He was right around here for me. I am going to go here with the 202. I am going to reach into the third round, and I am going to take Isaiah Spiller, who went as the fourth running back in this mock draft with pick 83 to Philadelphia.
I had him a chunk lower, but I didn't know what to do with him in Philly. It's so awkward there.
In contrast to Philly being, for me, a really bad landing spot for a wide receiver, I think it's a perfectly good landing spot for a running back.
Okay.
They use a committee. He's better than they use a committee, and he's better than any of the people on that roster who stay healthy. How about that?
Is Miles Sanders just dead if this happens? I mean, he's just...
No. If Miles Sanders comes back in the best health of his career and doesn't get so much as a nick all season, and then sure, but Miles Sanders is also going into his walk year, and has certainly given them lots of reason not to give him a lot of money.
Yes.
So even if this is a wait a year situation, I think this mid third round draft capital, I think this is about the 18th pick of the third round, right there in the middle of the round. That's good draft capital for a running back. That's starting to get sketchy draft capital for a wide receiver, but it's still pretty solid draft capital for a running back. And he is a 3-down back on a team that doesn't have other 3-down backs. So, who stay healthy.
Yep.
So I'm willing to take this bet that just maybe I've gotten the starting running back on a team that wants to run the football a lot, and from day one, and I can flip him for a 23 first at midseason if he's just won the starting job there. Right?
You definitely could. People want running backs so bad. A contender who loses their starter to injury. A Derrick Henry owner who watches him go down. They would flip and try to stay competitive.
Sure, and he doesn't even have to win that job. He can win that job, or he can just win the backup job, and Sanders can get hurt again.
Yeah, that'll happen probably.
Right. So I'm very comfortable with Spiller there at that spot. I actually had him as the 12th player on my board. I like that landing.
the 2.3, I'm going to take another running back as well. We saw James Cook land in Houston with the 68th overall pick, so this is a very early third. This is an opportunity play for me. This is a volume play. Um, I can't say I particularly believe in James Cook's talent, but I do know that it's wide open in Houston. And like we mentioned with Mills earlier, he's not looking to run. There's definitely some pass catching upside for whatever back lands there. High third round means they probably view him as their day one starter. Marlon Mack. What do you do with that? I don't know. I have to think James Cook is going to start over Marlon Mack, but who knows? But I would be very happy to get a starting running back with third round draft capital at my 2.3.
Sure.
Yep.
Sure. Okay, so at 2.4, I am. I want to talk through my draft process here.
Mm-hmm.
So what's left are there are a couple of third round wide receivers who got pretty good top 50 draft capital. And probably in spots where they're at least going to get opportunity. And at least one of those is a pretty good spot, and one of those is a pretty maybe bad spot, but with lots of opportunity, right? So we're talking about Skyy Moore and John Metchie there. But then there's George Pickens, who is my wide receiver 5. And like in a vacuum, I would have him behind only, I don't know, 7 other guys. And he got round 3 draft capital to Detroit.
Yeah.
Who then didn't take a quarterback. So they're probably going to be kind of tanking it out and taking a quarterback next year. So there's a lot to not like there. But I think George Pickens is too good not to take here.
He was hard to place in this with the talent, and the talent draft capital marriage was off here. It was hard to figure out.
So I'm just going to take George Pickens. I'm very he could just take the number 1 target job away from Amon-Ra.
Yeah,
going forward. I mean, right off the bat. So I'm very happy to take Pickens there and gamble on it. All right. What you got next?
What do I got next? I have Skyy Moore at number 46 to Minnesota. We'll see. Like, there's 3 competent receivers there with Thielen, Jefferson, and I think KJ Osborne has, he's been playing some role, but I think Moore is talented enough where he takes Osborne's job, and then eventually Thielen rides off into the sunset, and Skyy Moore steps right in to always single coverage with Jefferson out there. We know Kirk Cousins is locked in for at least the 23 season with his guaranteed contract. So get a talent like Moore here at 2.5. I'm very happy with that. To think about the price you would pay to acquire a 2.5 right now, it's pretty cheap, and you can convert that into what is probably a starter for your fantasy team in 3 wide receiver leagues eventually. Skyy Moore, I'm down for that.
Yeah, and notice, like, you might not have thought of that, but like you wouldn't have him behind James Cook, but then like once the draft capital lands, you do, right? And so that's kind of the point of this exercise.
Yeah, and I have him and John Metchie, who's at 48. Like, they're so close. It's so close.
That's who I'm taking here.
Yeah,
John Metchie. I think John Metchie is, man, I don't know. Like, John Metchie was getting on the field for Alabama when Waddle and Smith were still there, right? Like, John Metchie's a good player.
Yes, he is.
So,
yeah.
He's not. First of all, he got some drop problems, and he's a little undersized, and the other thing about him is he played parts of 2 different seasons with a fractured bone in his leg, right? So he, it was the end of one season, and then it like wasn't all the way healed at the beginning of the next season. So like, I actually think there's some upside, some explosiveness upside. And to be frank, I don't think Darnell Moody's that good. So I think John Metchie could be the wide receiver 1 in Chicago by the end of the year.
Travesty.
Yeah, I love it.
This heresy that you're spitting out here. I love Mooney. Not that I love him. I got him really cheap a lot in most of my leagues.
I got no shares. I'm not interested.
I mean, I got him like off waiver wires. I got him in like nothing trades a few times. And I'm not drafting him right now in the 8th round or wherever he's going, but I have a
Yeah,
bunch of Mooney from when he was like a throw-in
yeah.
type
I,
player.
I think I think Metchie is. I think Metchie's
Mitchie could be the one for this team.
got a chance to be the one for that team.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna argue that take at all. Yep. He's got the capital. He's
Right.
got the pedigree. Everything. Yeah.
Your
So
chance to roll.
yeah, man. 207. I mean, I'm gonna take Carson Strong here. It's ugly. You can rip on me for it. Let me know in the comments how you feel about Carson Strong.
No, I think Carson Strong is pretty close to this spot, honestly.
I'm
Pretty
taking him
close.
over Sam Howell only because, like I said, the NFL teams know more than we do. And if the New Orleans Saints, a rock-solid franchise, decide that they want Carson Strong with their number 49 overall pick, then I'm in on that at the 2.7. I'm willing. I'm willing to taxi him and see what happens. Yeah.
Oh, that makes me so happy. I'm so happy you did that because then I'm taking Trey McBride, the tight end 1 at 208.
Yeah, that's fair.
I thought about him. I almost pushed him ahead of Metchie and Moore. Trey McBride. We're gonna try to do a quick hitter on the tight end class later this week. But Trey McBride is a guy who I don't know what he's going to be. Right, but he's undersized. He's only 6'3". The weight's fine. The functional strength is fine, but he's only 6'3" and he's got short arms. That gives him some difficulty as a blocker. He's more than capable of flexing out. So I don't know if he has the ceiling of being like that superstar combo tight end like Mark Andrews and all.
Can he block?
Yeah, he's okay.
Yeah.
Like maybe he can get to enough to just be the guy.
Sure.
Your every down guy.
Yeah.
He's better than just a move tight end. But he also broke some of the like metrics. Like some of the people who do analytical models, he like kind of broke the models because he had ridiculous seasons on some of these advanced metrics like yards per route run or like targets per route run, and some of these kinds of metrics that we don't think about as top level numbers, but which have tended to be predictive in the past. There was one game last season where the Colorado State Rams had 11 completions for 110 passing yards, and McBride had 9 catches for 109 passing yards.
It's like some Madden stuff right there. Like
right.
Tight ends do that sometimes. Yeah.
So it's not just the 90 catches and the fifth. I forget what it was, 1,200 yards or whatever, which is what he put up last year. It was that like he did that on a team where that was 40% of the completions and 43% of the passing yards, right? So those kinds of numbers suggest NFL upside. The tape doesn't look like that to me, but I'm willing to gamble in the tight end premium, and I'd be willing to take him a little higher here because you're pushing some guys who I wasn't as high up on. Like I would have been willing to take him around 204, 205.
Yeah, I'm probably pushing some of your picks down because I'm reaching all over the board.
And I'm pushing some of your guys down.
You are. Yeah.
I'm sure, but and I like the draft capital here, right? Oh, this is the other thing is like he got high second round draft capital to Washington at 47, where Washington proved last year that their starting tight end, even when that's a different guy, is a usable player. Right, with that system. So
and Wentz likes his tight ends. I mean, that's a known fact. Wentz is going to throw the ball to his tight end. So
Wentz will, and the Rivera system did. Logan Thomas, and all that was good. So I'm very happy here. You're up at 9.
I lied. Most of my stuff didn't get pushed down, honestly. But I'm going to keep taking shots on these quarterbacks, man. Sam Howell goes at number 72 to Seattle. And
very good.
So I want to touch on a little point here. So I've been playing Dynasty for 4 years. This is my 4th round of rookie drafts I'm doing. And in each of the last 3 seasons I've done rookie drafts, there has been a quarterback who did not get first-round NFL capital, who fell late in the second round of rookie drafts, who ended his rookie season as his team's starter and went into the following season as his team's starter. So that's Drew Lock, Jalen Hurts, and Davis Mills. Okay? And as long as this trend continues, I'm going to keep assuming that it's going to continue. I mean, I'll just bet on. You want to bet on a trend versus trend reversal. That's just the way I gamble.
And by the way,
Yeah.
I believe Gardner Minshew did it the year before that.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so we can pull it back a year further even.
Albeit you didn't take Gardner Minshew in the second round of your
No,
rookie
you took him
draft.
like the 5th round. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Hall is textbook to be able to do that. You're talking about a guy who can run, who had some big production years in college, maybe not most recently, and a bad combine, a bad offseason forced him down the draft board. Seattle is a place where there's opportunity. If Seattle were to trade for Baker Mayfield, I'm probably not taking Sam Howell here. But as it stands right now, with only Drew Lock and Geno Smith in their roster, I'm thinking Hall's going to get a shot, and I'm thinking he could establish himself with that shot. You got DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett he's working with. And it's a safe system, man. They just want to run the ball. So it'll be a nice little cocoon for Sam Howell to develop in. And at the 2.9, I'll take the shot, certainly.
Yeah, I for me, once you get into the third round, I'm more looking at once you get into the NFL third round.
Yeah.
At quarterback, to me, that's a rookie. That's more of a rookie third round area, I think, for me. But I totally see what you're saying. But I do think it's worth noting that like all of the guys you referred to, well, no, I take that back. Davis Mills was a third rounder. But Locke and Hurts were second rounders.
Yep. What was Minshew? He was like a later pick.
Yeah. Sixth. Yeah. So I'm going to take here at this next pick. I'm going to take Khalil Shakir.
Mm-hmm.
He goes 89th overall to Buffalo. And he is a guy who played for Boise State, always open. And boy, I just think that Josh Allen's going to cook this year. And
yeah, he is. He's going to
nuts. This is the guy who's going to have the Jameson Crowder role by a year from now.
Yeah,
and
Cole Beasley slot receiver role.
Yep. And so I feel like this is or maybe he beats out Gabe Davis, or maybe he's good enough to start with Gabe Davis when Diggs gets old, right? I don't know. But I want the pieces attached to this offense. He's got top 100 draft capital. He's got a good production profile. Give me Khalil Shakir.
Yep. So at 11, I'm going to take a guy who's a 4th-round receiver, and I'm going to take Alec Pierce. He lands at the San Francisco 49ers as the 100th.
It's the last pick of day 3.
Yeah, it's the last pick of day 3.
Round 3.
With the headaches surrounding Debo right now, this guy might come in there and start. I love Kyle Shanahan, who doesn't. And if they bring in Pierce, I'm assuming they're going to have a plan for him, and he's going to be involved and do some stuff. So with his talent profile, that could be a lot of stuff. And the 49ers have consistently made a lot of juice out of later round picks. So let's see what they can do with him.
Okay, let's turn this back around towards you. How much does the Debo stuff? So Alec Pierce goes 105, which is the very last pick of round 3, day 2.
Mm-hmm.
There are still, 1, 2, 3, 4 wide receivers who went higher in the round.
Yeah. My next receiver is Calvin Austin, and it's really close.
Plus running backs and other stuff. So my question to you is, how much is the Debo stuff playing in here?
Medium. The big thing that's interesting is the Niners didn't interview any receiver prospects. I don't know if you heard that. Like all of their 30 visits that you can do, they didn't interview a prospect at receiver. So they would be strictly doing stuff off of tape. So if they like his tape, I think he could do it. I don't know. I'd be very. It's a 211. I'd be very fine with this pick, even if Debo was there and played. Because there's not a lot of depth in that. I don't know, Trent Sherfield, Juwan Jennings. These guys are not impressive to me. If Shanahan takes a receiver here in the 4th, I'm gonna assume he's got a plan for this guy. At the very least, he's the receiver 3 on this team. So.
Okay. All right, you're not a Juwan Jennings as a sleeper guy, huh?
Bro, I was in on Trent Sherfield. I was picking him up everywhere.
Well, he's with Miami now.
Is he really? I didn't know that. But
he followed McDaniel.
I have nothing against Jahan. I'm trying to pick Shanahan's brain. That's what we're all trying to do. So I don't know. I don't hate anyone. If they have a Niners uniform on, I like the player.
I
I'm
got
willing to
you.
roster the player. There's no one. I just want to predict the future when it comes to Shanahan. That's what I'm really trying to do that. So I don't know. Where are you at? Would you have Pierce a little lower? I think.
Uh, much lower. I mean, I have him. I have him like I think there's one player left that I had above him. But,
Okay.
So no, not really. I'm just wondering how much that impacted it. So yeah, so the last player in round 2 I'm going to take is at number 84. We got David Bell to Pittsburgh, wide receiver out of Purdue.
Yeah.
David Bell is a guy with the huge production profile. Absolutely bombed at the combine. Had he run 4.55, he'd be the guy going to Chicago at 39, or 48 instead of John Metchie. But he ran 4.64, and now he's going at 84 overall. But I really like the Pittsburgh Steelers' history of drafting day 2 wide receivers.
Oh yeah.
Whether that's Juju or Deontay Johnson, Antonio Brown, Chase Claypool. It's a long list.
He's retired, but still.
Yeah, I mean, but I think even going back farther than that, I think like Hines Ward may have been a third round pick, right? So they've been good at this for a long time. So I see a day 2 wide receiver for Pittsburgh. Oh, by the way, they only have like 2 good receivers under contract. Like there is wide receiver 3 work for David Bell immediately.
Yep.
So,
and they stayed in 3 wide sets a lot. He'd be on the field immediately.
Very interested in that. Like Pittsburgh wide receiver day 2 is one of those handful of things where I go, I'm going to trust that. I'm going to ride that narrative over some of the more measurable factors a little bit, just a touch, but I like that.
No, that's fair. He's a guy. If I had dissected this deeper, and spent a lot more time on it, like we talk about the weeks and weeks we get to do this, I could see Bell creeping up my board, getting right into this, 2.8, 2.9 area.
Yeah, exactly. So what do you have here? Do you want to go a little deeper? Do you have a few more picks to go?
Yeah, we'll do some honorable mentions. I don't know. I would take Calvin Austin off the board here. We're talking about the second receiver Atlanta picked at 82. It's like I said with Watson, there's plenty of volume there, and Austin could be more valuable than Watson in a couple years' time.
Let's remember Mark Andrews, Hayden Hurst, and let's remember 4th rounder Jamal Williams and 5th rounder Aaron Jones.
Trace Armand and Elijah Mitchell. That's the one that will forever live in infamy.
There you go. Right. So absolutely, when a team double dips a position with value picks, that tells you like they need guys at that spot. There might even be room for both of them, frankly. But
there is right now when you have Olamide Zaccheaus as your number 1 receiver and Auden Tate.
That Auden Tate is their wide receiver 1 right
now.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, no, that's a good pick. I'd take Wan'Dale Robinson next. Wan'Dale Robinson went.
He's in Cleveland, right?
To Cleveland.
Yep.
Yeah, he's their top wide receiver choice here, right? They didn't take one in the second round, which I think they are a candidate to take one in the second round, but they didn't. So yeah, I mean, Wan'Dale Robinson's undersized gadget guy, so I'll happily take him at 302. What do you got?
I got Brian Robinson as the last running back that got drafted in the mock. Like I said, we only go 4 rounds deep, or is it 3? It's 4 rounds deep in the mock, right? Yeah. So he's the last one that was mocked, and he goes to Denver. Just as Jameson's handcuff. I'm sorry, Javante's handcuff. He's gonna have good value, and I like to think that Javante's not going to get this mega workload, and it'll probably be a little more split. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. The 3.3 you can't really go wrong. Brian Robinson's got the pedigree. He's got talent profile. He can handle the rock. He's fine. He's a running back on the roster.
Yeah, and I think that's a that's a great example of following the draft capital because he's not the guy on this tier who I would have taken, but he got the day 2 draft.
Maybe I should go tight end. I just don't know the tight ends that well to pick
Oh,
which ones I like.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna take Cade Austin here next. Cade Otton
for the Giants. Yeah.
Went 67. Follow the draft capital a little bit. Is very ready, and I like the landing spot in terms of if you look at that tight end room, Ingram left, Rudolph left, and they signed Ricky Seals-Jones to a 1 year, $2 million deal. Mm-hmm. This Cade Otton is a he's 6'7", he's monstrous. He is not super duper athletic, but he runs good routes and has good hands, and he's he's one of those guys who looks natural standing next to the tackle, Yeah. But he works the middle and finds the soft spotted zones and appears to be set to start every single day to me if this is how the draft capital.
Yeah, you think he would he'd be a high third? Do you think he would just immediately he lands on the Giants? Ricky Seals-Jones is their projected starter to me. You think he just starts over Ricky week 1?
I think he at least gets an even start competition.
Yeah, and then probably takes the job by the end of the season.
Right. And so that's a good recipe for being worth a second round pick if I wish to trade this asset in a year, right? Sure. Go play, go win a job, put up stats, be startable some weeks, right?
Yeah, and when the Giants quit on Daniel Jones and they bring in a new high capital quarterback, people love to get the tight ends for those young, sexy QBs. You could see Otton really jump. You can make a big jump up a board potentially if this were the reality. I'm out of prospects listed, just looking at what's available on the board.
We can call it good. My next things were this is where I would start taking 4th round running backs who didn't get to go in the 3-round mock draft over what's left, which is some
you'd probably be thinking Algier or Damian Pierce here or something.
This is where I would look at Algier, Damian Pierce, Zamir White, Rashad White, and then what's left in the third round picks here is Weidemeyer and Kolar and Greg Dulcich, Ruckert, Isaiah Likely. So I think it's worth noting. What do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 tight ends went in round 3, right? So when we say there's no huge ceiling to this tight end class, unless you're just a huge Trey McBride believer, but 6 round 3 tight ends. And even a couple of good ones who didn't quite get into this list who are really on the same tier. So I think there are a whole bunch of guys who have a decent shot in a year or two of being a nice tight end 2 for your roster. So you need those guys. And obviously if you're in a 2 tight end league, that might even change the value of some of these high thirds. If you're in a 2 tight end league, I really do think if you take Charlie Kolar, who went 92nd to the Packers, you might very well be taking a future starter for yourself. I don't think he's a top 5 tight end. So you if in your 1 tight end leagues, you don't need to go chasing him. But in your 2 tight end leagues, if he's going to be the starter for Green Bay, he's going to be a starting tight end 2 in your 2 tight end league.
This tight end crop really mixed in with what we see in the middle rounds at receiver and stuff. It'll make a 2 tight end league rookie draft very interesting. There's going to be the 3rd round's deep in that environment, I think.
I completely agree. And now, just for a little treat here, as we think about what we just did over these couple of rounds, let's flip over. I threw up a 2023 mock draft.
Yeah.
This is. I took Charlie Campbell from Walter Football, who's another mock drafter and prospect reviewer analyst, who we both respect a lot. He put together a 2023 mock draft, and this is the skill position players from it, right? And so we had our first quarterback in in the mock we just did, go off the board at 106, right? Here we've got quarterbacks at 101, 102, and 106, right?
Yeah.
So we've got
weird seeing Bijan this low. I wouldn't expect that.
Well, he's a
I guess it's a mirror of his mock draft. It's not a fantasy draft. It's just
right. This is a mock draft.
Yes.
Right? Yes. Right. But like, just compare this draft capital, right? And then you look at the running back position, right? So again, our first running backs were off the board at 55 and 57, and we still took them.
Number 1 overall.
And 103.
Yeah.
Look, we've got Bijan at 12. But then 2 more running backs going off the board in the top 23.
Yeah.
Right? Wide receiver. What have we been saying? This class lacks top end at all the positions. But what it really does have is extreme depth at wide receiver. Here you only see 4 wide receivers going in the first round. But we've got a wide receiver going at number 4. Compared to the top wide receiver in our mock draft from 2022 went at 11.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So again, we've got the higher capital. And then throw in, you got a tight end looking at 7 overall there.
Is Michael Mayer a better prospect than Pitts? I mean, from a prospect perspective.
I haven't dug in.
Okay.
I haven't dug in. I couldn't.
It's a lot of noise around the guy, and I have so many 23 picks across my leagues. I know I'm going to get a bite out of Mayer for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you entirely, but like, so if drafts are made by the quality of their quarterback and running back classes,
next year is going to be the best.
It's just going to be
so good,
ridiculous. It also does have, and you see here the first quarterback, wide receiver, running back, and tight end all got better draft capital in the 2023 mock draft than the 2022 mock.
Yep,
every position.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and by a lot.
Yeah. By a lot in at least most of those cases. Yeah. I mean, it's only a few spots at quarterback and receiver, I guess, technically. But yes. And also, by the way, I don't think it's going to be 3 quarterbacks. I don't think it's going to be 3 quarterbacks.
It's going to be probably closer to 6 or 7 in the first round next year.
Yeah. I think 5 or 6. I really do. I think I think Spencer Rattler's going to end up being a top 10 pick. And just added that to what we were already looking at there, and so yeah. All right, so that's our mock draft.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, friends. Appreciate it. This was ugly as far as the landing spots. Not ugly, but it was challenging, I should say, to slot these guys in. I'm looking forward to doing it live. When it gets lived out, we will have a mock draft with the real landing spots coming at you probably within the first week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Leave us a like, leave us a comment. You can become a first round pick yourself if you just hit that subscribe button on the Multiple First Dynasty Football channel. Have a wonderful evening. God bless you. Enjoy the NFL draft, ladies and gentlemen. I know I will.